It is a phone.
Turn the phone off.
Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Howdy, YouTube. Okay, we're going to start the show in about 9 minutes, so just bear with us. You get a special little insight into how things worked before. So, like, for example, in just a few minutes, we're going to go live on Facebook as well, and that way you can share it on your Facebook page. Or if you're watching us from YouTube, you can copy this link and you can post it to your Facebook page. Or maybe there's a friend who's not on Facebook. You can copy this link and you can text them the link so they can watch us on YouTube. So you probably have found it. You either put Sonia Salsa S there to find us or Conservative Salsa, and you found us on YouTube. All right. George, when do you want to start early on the Facebook?
You want to start it?
I guess we could start it that way. We can start sharing. So what George's going to do now, narrating this event. By the way, I'm Alice Lara. That was George Ortiz. He's the other co-host, my radio partner in crime. And, okay, is it going to be on now? Whoops. All right, we're live now. We're live on Facebook now as well. The show hasn't quite started, but we like to kind of start up early because that way you can go to Facebook and you can share this. Watch, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to go to the Chips and Salsa Show Facebook site. Da-da-da. And so you're probably there already. And once it loads, then you'll see the broadcast live, and then you can share it to your own Facebook profile page. Or maybe you're the admin on several pages. We would love if you would share it. Unfortunately, mine isn't. Mine's still loading, but that's okay.
Yeah, it might be overwhelming the website.
Yeah, we might have a lot of power that we're using.
That's why I'm not even turning mine on.
But you know what I can do? I can go to my settings, and I think I can do like take the Wi-Fi off, and then use the old school. Do it that way.
Well, anyway, people, we're in the midst of an election, and so everybody, we want to encourage everybody, all parties, to go out and vote, exercise your vote, and go and vote at one of the polling places. And all the early polling places were open for about 21 days, and starting Tuesday, well, they're going to be, some of them are open on Saturday, and maybe one or two might be open on Sunday, but Tuesday is in
Are some open on Sunday, George? Really?
There's one
Wow.
emergencies for emergency voters and stuff, but that's at the Mesa County Recorder's Office. There may be another one. But anyway, I want to let everybody know, go out and vote on Tuesday. The polls open at 6 a.m. They close at 7 p.m. So you can, if you have to go to work, vote during your lunch or right after work. The last person in line at 7 o'clock gets to vote. So if you're in a line and it's 7 o'clock, don't worry, you're going to be given a ticket. That ticket allows you to go in, that you're the last person in line at 7. So remember, go to your nearest polling place, go to maricopa.vote, and look at the locations that are there, and you type in your address, it'll prompt you for your address, and then it'll tell you the nearest polling place, precinct near you, where you can go and vote. So don't forget to vote. Everybody should vote, and that's Republican, Democrat, and Independent, and Green Party, or Libertarian.
And vote red. That's what we recommend.
There's going to be a big red wave, we know that. Anyway, just go and vote. I implore you to go and vote. We want to do a little moment of silence for our friend Ron Harders. He passed away this week. He was a good friend of ours. He used to be a chairman of Alice's legislative district, LD 27. And he's been a state committeeman for many years. He's been a PC committeeman for many years. He had a show, Chi-Town, on our syndicated program. And I don't know what's going to happen with that program, but we're going to keep advertising for him because we send our condolences to his family, and may he rest in peace. He was a great, great conservative, and he's going to be sorely missed. So our condolences to his family. If you want to say a few words.
A
Knew him a lot more than I did.
Yeah, and you know, I met him when I first moved into the South Mountain neighborhood about 16 years ago, and a lot of wisdom there, he would tell a story about how when he first was in elementary school, evidently his first language was German. And that was at the time when people weren't real happy about German people. This was during the war when he was a kid. So he had a lot of really good stories and a lot of wisdom to pass. You could go to Central Right Radio, and there's some shows, and you can watch some of his shows, and they're quite interesting. Tom Keating, another good friend of his, kind of kept me posted on things. There are no memorial services, as far as we know right now. That's kind of what he wanted, so those are his wishes. If something happens, we'll keep you posted. If maybe Republicans or conservatives decide to do something, we will. And our hearts and prayers go out to Rachel Harders, who is always there with him and did some great things like the quilts that are back here. She does work like that.
And
she's
just
a
fantastic.
Teacher, isn't she? She teaches at South Mountain Community College, I believe.
Yeah, she's a teacher, and she's. I know she's going to be.
She was awesome.
It's going to be a sad period of time, so we all wish your family condolences. And
that's George. Which it's good it went off because he needs to be reminded to turn it off. Turn his phone off. There you go. We're going to have a lot of good things. Okay, so we're going to have a really good show. Janet Jackson will be on today, and she's going to talk about the Kids Foundation. But we'll probably talk politics and do some housekeeping first. And she brought in these beautiful shirts. Woohoo! So
you're going to see some of the artwork from the space camp. We have some of her artwork, some of the stuff that was given out at some of these meetings that she has with the kids, and she's going to talk a lot more about that. Do you want to cover a few little?
Okay, so we got about 2 minutes to show time. We could start early if you like. Want to start early? Okay. First of all, I want to say thank you. Welcome to the Chips and Salsa Show. I'm Alice Lara with
Don Jorge Lalacran.
The Alacran. He's a Scorpion King. We're both here. It's so exciting because George has been working so hard.
I've been working the elections. I worked for Maricopa County as what they call a troubleshooter. So I've been working every day, and we're getting out the vote for the people. We're helping the people receiving the early ballots and people that wanted to vote early, because a lot of people have to go out of town, and so they were coming into the early voting sites. And it's a very good program they have, so people can vote early. But now, all hands on deck for November the 6th, Tuesday.
And you'd usually think George, instead of a troubleshooter, would be the troublemaker, but in this case, he's a troubleshooter, so I'm sure he does a great job. But I also want to let you know, next week, you have to work. I've got a family reunion going on, so we're not going to have a show. You might have a best of, unless Armin gets really creative and he wants to come in and do the show.
And then he'll be here, but I'm going to be at the races. Woohoo!
Oh, right on. And Armin is our incredible intern. He could not be with us today. He's busy getting his work done too. That's okay. We'll first start with politics, and then later we'll get to our guest. That's Janet Jackson, who a lot of you know. We've had her on before. She's with Kids Foundation. She ran for the Maricopa County Superintendent of Public Instruction, and she's no stranger to politics, but we're not going to talk politics with her today. We're going to talk about her foundation.
Right, the foundation.
Some very cool stuff.
We don't talk politics with certain guests on our show, and Janet Jackson's one of them. She's running a foundation, and it's non-political, but it's for the kids. It's a very good foundation. And by the way, I said I was going to the races. I have to work. I do security for State Farm, for State Management. Farm. Well, State Farm is a stadium now, but the company is.
I thought you have another job, George.
It's a security agency, and I work for them. And I'll be at the races, but doing work. So I have to work. It's an all-day thing, Saturday and Sunday. But if any other choice, I'd be here in front of you with the news.
That's our George. And we're going to talk just a little bit. George talked about get out there and vote. If you haven't voted yet, please fill out your ballot. You can take it to the polls. And I got my sample ballot. I'm old school. I have to go day of, and I sit there and make people crazy because I vote the day of, because I hate early mail ballot. Here's a ballot. It's a little big because we have federal stuff. We're voting on Congress people. We're voting for the Senate, in fact, U.S. Senate. And as you can see, we support Martha McSally. We hope that she wins. There's been a lot more coming out on Kirsten Sinema. Go Martha McSally. and we have some local races too. Moses Sanchez, our good friend Moses Sanchez is running for mayor. Please vote for Moses. And you know, maybe you already voted, and that's cool, but talk to your neighbors, talk to your family that can vote. A lot of people died for this vote, and it's a great freedom that we have, and we're able to go to the polls and we can vote without somebody bothering us about it. You know, I understand sometimes, and I'm going to admit to you, there were a few years that I didn't vote because I didn't know what I was voting. I didn't know what I was doing. I was too busy working. I didn't pay attention, and I felt like I shouldn't vote because I wasn't informed or paying attention or educated on that. That's not the case anymore because, you know, I'm a political junkie. But please, I implore you, do. I know it might be intimidating. It's a big, that's okay. You know what? You can take time. You can do it. Get your sample ballot. Sit wherever you sit comfortably at your house. I'm going to fill mine out, and that way I'm just going to take it in, and I know what I'm doing. I pretty much know what I'm doing already, but I want to mention the water races, George, if that's okay, because on the water, there are 14 people on the ballot for the Central Arizona Water Conservation District. And that's really important. A lot of people don't think enough about water. We're here in the desert in Arizona. My good friend Lisa Adkins, she is serving currently on the board, and she's running again. She's a fantastic candidate. She's also our state land commissioner, but she's really good. She used to work for former Congressman Bob Stump. Just really sharp lady. Also, I'm voting for Rory Van Pocky, and it's like hockey. Van Pocky, yeah. So I'm going to give you a few other names. I mean, you know, go down the list, vote your conscience. But April Pinger, Daniel Schweiker, and also Carrie, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, Giangobe. I think it's how I say it, Giangobbe. The school districts are on here. I mean, this ballot has everything, really, George. It's really important. So I can't stress enough. That's why I brought the big old ballot in. I know there's other people in other states. I don't know what your ballots look like. But I just want to encourage you. You know, the reason that we exist, our show, is because we want to show that just because we're Latinos, we're Republicans, okay? We're not necessarily Democrats. A lot of people think automatically you're a Democrat, but you're not. All right, you want to see anything more, a little bit more political before we go on to our guest, George?
How do we stand on birthdays? Or?
You know, I'm glad you said that. My girlfriend, Barb Watson, and she's visited us before. She's out touring the world right now, but her birthday was yesterday. So happy birthday, Barb Watson. I can't think of any other birthdays. I do have a lot of family birthdays coming up, and I'll just go ahead because I won't be here next week. But my cousin Paula Benavides, that's her birthday coming up. Congratulations and happy birthday. Also, my cousin Lucille Kingsbury, and her husband watches us a lot. And he's a former Marine, a good conservative Republican in California. Believe it or not, there are some Republicans there. Semper Fi, right. What about you? Got some birthdays?
No, but I want to congratulate my son. As of November the 1st, he was promoted to staff sergeant officially. Because they take the class, but they don't get promoted until an opening occurs. He was, right when he got to his post overseas, they informed him as of November the 1st, he'd get that extra stripe, so he'd be an official staff sergeant. Now he's going for, it's going to be a while, sergeant first class, so that's the next step up. And Jana knows all about that because she's served our country very in NASA.
Really? Yes, with NASA.
And she worked for NASA, and she's going to talk about that because Jana has been through a lot of different things in her life stages, and and we're really honored to have her as a guest here. So, leading that, we might as well lead into the segue.
We might as well. You know, we've had we're privileged and honored to call her our amiga N Salsa, our friend Jana Jackson. She's with the Kids Foundation and also Kids Futures Incorporated.
And she's with the Promises Made, Promises Kept. That's what, you know.
She's a teacher. She's worked for NASA. I mean, have you written a book yet?
The book is still in writing. It's a book and they're going to make it into one of those e-books. So
But has it been published already?
Not yet.
So it's a work in progress.
It's a work in progress. Oh, is it ever a work in progress?
Because she's got just a really fascinating, great story. I first met Jana when she was running for office, and she sings. She's got her heart is with the kids, and she's a great American and a great patriot. And I think you should spend a few minutes, Jana, and tell the audience about you. Give your little ICE story, because it's really great.
Oh, the ICE story. What can I say? First of all, it's an honor being here, so I want to thank you and Jorge.
Oh, look what it turned into. No.
This is Zonar the robot. Zonar is for the kids. He says yes, but I don't like so much talking about myself because it's not about me. It's all about the kids. I'm just very honored to be able to serve them. I had just the honor of working for NASA as an aerospace education specialist, and that was just it was just a blessing. I didn't apply for the position. I rewrote a curriculum and gave it to a college professor, and I believe he's the one who sent it to Washington, D.C. And they called me, and I flew to Washington, D.C., and it was the first time I had ever been on a plane, and I was very scared. And they called me and they said, "This is NASA, we want to interview you for a position." And I thought it was somebody playing a joke. So I said, "Sure," and I hung up.
You hung up?
And they called me back and they said, "No, this is really NASA headquarters in Washington, D.C., and we would like for you to come to interview for a job that has just been opened." And I said, "Well, I don't get paid for a couple of weeks, so I'll have to save money for an airline ticket." And they said, "No, we'll make all the arrangements." And that next day, I had a plane ticket to fly to NASA, to Washington, D.C., and I interviewed, and my choice was I could become a space science teacher or an astronaut. And I told them I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to stay. I am a teacher. I want to be a teacher. That's always been my dream in life.
You want to stay on the ground, huh?
On the ground, let me tell you, I don't want any space sickness. You know, they get sick up there. Sometimes I don't want any space sickness. Plus, I love the kids. And so if I couldn't take the kids up there with me, it just wouldn't be worth it. So I've just had a wonderful life. I still have a wonderful life coming up. I've worked for NASA. I've taught the university level, kindergarten all the way through university. I taught at Haskell University. I taught it. That's one of the largest Native American, since this is Native American Month, isn't it?
I think it is. I think you're right.
Yes. And I taught at Haskell University in Lawrence, Kansas, and that was a wonderful experience. And I've taught on the reservation, the Hopi, Navajo, Zuni, and Apache nations. So I've worked 4 years with the Native Americans, and that's not including the university teaching with Native Americans. And all my life, I've always wanted to teach children that were like me. I traveled to Italy, and I taught in Italy, and that's what the book is about. The book is about a small town that I went to, and some African-American, which we would call Negro soldiers, went into this small town and buried children that were killed and died in a concentration camp. Sometimes we don't talk about the children during that time period that actually died in concentration camps, and they needed burial. They had a burial detail, and the African American soldiers, Negro soldiers, basically only had the jobs of either cleaning the latrine or cooking. Very seldom did they ever work in combat. So the book is about what they did in Italy, and the people in the small town still honor these men by singing African American spirituals.
Wow.
And when I went to the town, they were singing, if you can imagine, Negro spirituals from a Lutheran hymnal. I mean, it was really weird. All of these songs that they sang during slavery times, but they had the words, they just did not have the music. Because during that time in the 30s and the 40s, many Negro Americans sang in church a cappella, so there was no piano music. So when they left, they did not leave written music, but they left the words. So, so it was a wonderful adventure, and I wrote a story about it, a book about it. And we have some incredible music on the ebook, in which we have a very incredible woman in Chicago who sings all of the spirituals for us. So we're really excited about the book coming out. All profits of the book will go to the foundation. That's the most exciting part. The foundation was founded primarily because I had a father who believed you need to live with the people you serve. And he believed that you need to go into the communities and you need to work in the communities, and that a community is not where you live. Basically, it's communities all over the United States that's like the place where you live. So because of that, it came a point in my life where I said I made all of these campaign promises, right? I promised to do this and I promised to do that, and I didn't win. I came very close to it.
You did.
But that didn't stop the campaign promise, because a promise is a promise. So what I did is decided I'm going to keep these promises and I'll talk about them after they're done. You know, I'll give you a little bit, because I came on the show and I talked a little bit about it, but I didn't tell you the main meat part of what we were going to do, because I wanted to do it, and I felt if I failed, well, I wouldn't have to come on your show and say, guess what, we failed. But instead, by me not saying it, I can say, guess what, we have succeeded. And the kind of success we have had already with the programs that were written just for kids that are in poverty. And I'll give you one example is our space camp. If I have time, I'll talk about the space camp first. Well, all over Arizona, kids are going to space camp, and in some places here in Phoenix, in the Phoenix area, it costs $280 to go to space camp. Well, I teach at a school where parents cannot afford $280 for maybe 5 days. So we gave space camps, and our space camps were free space camps. But because I have the experience from NASA, NASA has trained me as an aerospace education specialist. There are probably only 2 of us in this state. When I was an aerospace education specialist, I was the only female in the country to hold my job. So with that honor, I said I can write and I can do this. So we developed the programs. The first one is The Toys in Space, which was written by a woman by the name of Shelley Canwright. And she was one of my mentors at NASA, and she was also the director of all of the educational space programs in the United States.
Wow.
So Shelley Canwright started a program called Toys in Space. So that was the first program that we actually started. And the Toys in Space was so successful. We did it in 2 libraries. We did it in the library in Goodyear, which was absolutely incredible. Thank you to the mayor of Goodyear. She asked if we could come, and I said, of course, I would love to be able to bring it to Goodyear, and all kinds of things happened. We had people from other libraries coming in to see what the camp was about. And many people asked if they could actually have the camp. So we went to a place called Gila Bend. And this is a small town, and because we advertised Family Space Camp, we had people from surrounding communities coming into Gila Bend. They said for the first time they'd never had so many people from the outside coming into a family program in their town.
That's terrific.
And Grissom's great nephew lives in one of those towns.
So
and
the
he
astronaut
brought his, the astronaut Grissom, and he brought his family. So it was not just him and his wife and his children. He also had sister-in-laws and cousins and nephews. It was wonderful.
You didn't even know
And
they just showed up. That is so cool.
just showed up.
Very cool.
So we've had lots and lots of successes with lots of wonderful camps this summer.
And what does KIDS stand for? I mean, we have a poster up there, but
KIDS stands for knowledge, integrity, discipline, and spirituality. And that's what our programs are all about. So
and I attended one of her mentoring sessions, which was the Dodgers came down. 18 of them?
Yes, that was the Athletes in Space. That's our
Yeah.
second program, the Athletes in Space.
Oh, athletes. Yeah.
Professional athletes without any sports. Now, they didn't play baseball and basketball. We did academics.
And
It was wonderful.
really, the kids really enjoyed it. And she has so many more things coming up regarding mentoring to the kids, and also the athletes mentoring to the kids. And you have so many, she has so many different divisions, right? The space is one, the space, the camp for the kids is one, and then she has athletes mentoring the kids. That's the one that I attended, and so did Sid. Our good friend Sid was there, and
Sid de la Fuente with CALO, Conservative
and he was there,
American
and he
Latino
spoke.
Organization.
And also, she has the high-tech robotics, drones, and software. That's another program that she's going to be launching. And I I would say anybody that wants to be involved in the Kids Foundation, contact Jana Jackson. She made that promise. That's why I say promises made, promises kept. She has proven. She ran for an office. She didn't win, but she made promises at that time. She says, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna start programs for the kids. Right after the election, or when she wasn't running anymore, she started these foundations. It is fantastic. She wants to do so much for the kids in our community, and you could talk more about that.
Well, and also, why don't you let everybody know, if they'd like to support you, how they can find you on the web or Facebook, or call you or email you, because we have a really nice, vast audience. Even if you don't live in Arizona, you can think about supporting
That's right.
Kids Foundation.
And we plan on taking Kids Foundation outside of the state of Arizona.
Oh,
So that's one of the plans, but to do it here at home. And it's easier to be forgiven when you do something at home. So when we take it out, Arizona will have one of the best kids project programs in the state. Then we plan to take it other places. We want to go to Chicago, and we want to go to Michigan, and we want to go to Louisiana. And I mean, we just want to take this project all over the United States, but we want to make sure that we do it first at home, and we do it really, really well.
I think you're certainly going to do that. Jana is so organized, and her energy is so good, and your people skills are wonderful. So if I want to call you, is it best to email you or call you? What do you think?
I'll have to get the card from out of George's pocket.
All right. We don't want to give you any wrong information.
Don't want to give you wrong information.
I got it right here.
Yeah.
And inside I have a brochure. We should show the picture. I know the picture. There's a picture of me, and we're doing the STEM camp with Shelley Canwright. And we're there at NASA. We have on our NASA suits, and we've just finished the program.
Yeah, you can see she has her NASA suit there. It looks like she's ready for space.
That's right. We were probably in Houston. We just traveled all over because, you know, NASA has so many different places in different states. And by me working in Washington, D.C. headquarters, I was assigned to all of the states, which was incredible. I got a chance to travel to all of the NASA headquarters.
Wow.
I mean, all of the NASA facilities throughout the United States. But they never sent me to Hawaii.
No.
I did go to Puerto Rico for a year and a half, and I lived there.
That's
in
not
San Diego,
bad.
Puerto Rico.
Yes, but they never sent me to Hawaii. So I would like to one day go to Hawaii and do a space camp there. I think it would be wonderful. But we have a website, and if I could have one of my cards, then I'll make sure that I give them the right website. Thank you. So we have a website, and it's Jana for Kids Foundation @gmail.com. That's our Gmail.
And is that the number 4 or just FOR?
It's the number 4. And then our website is www.janajacksonforkids.org.
Nice and easy.
So, yeah, just nice and easy. And it's the number 4. So it's Jana Jackson for Kids, KIDS.org, or Jana for Kids Foundation @gmail.com.
I think this is such a great thing that you're doing because, well, especially, you know, kids need to be more involved and have their interests expanded. And I actually have been to Houston. We went to NASA, and it was so exciting because you forget, I mean, we're old enough that we saw the moon landing and everything. Remember how exciting that was? And now the kids today, well, they're so sophisticated. They, you know, things, it's harder to impress them. But to send them to the space camp, if I had a kid and sent to space camp, or maybe you want to sponsor somebody. Maybe you don't have kids, but you got some money and you want to write them a check, and they can send someone. So what could the kid be expected? The kid, what would the student get to experience?
Well, the experience, because it is academic, as a teacher, you sort of embed your lesson within the fun. So kids would come in, and it's like a spaceship. And so for the summer camps, our students were able to, or children were able to go inside of the Voyager and then fly to Mars or planets.
Man, I want to go. That sounds like fun.
It's so realistic
I like that.
that the younger kids, sometimes they really, you know, think that they're leaving Earth. And so we have parents called the robot bee. And so we embed the education and the physics and the chemistry along with what they're learning. And it's really exciting because parents come and they sit and they listen and they understand, hey, I remember that kid It is only in mathematics.
What is it? A space
Like a space force.
space force, and that's going to be the future of this country. We have the Air Force, the Army, the Marines, the Navy, and now we're going to have the Space Force on the Coast Guards, and we're going to have the Space Force, and that is, he's already getting it started. They have ground troops, they have aviators, they have computer people. My son is with radar and communication. He's in the Army, so they have so many branches within that service. Robotics, drone robotics, that's the future of this country. We know that because it's happening now. And that's going to be implemented in the Space Force also. And the Space Camp is teaching them all the beginnings of this. And at a young age where their minds are being formed. And I like that. Knowledge, integrity is doing something, doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. Because you would think kids, hold on, they're watching me, I better. No, they're teaching doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. That's integrity. Discipline. That's what they teach you in the armed forces is discipline, but they're teaching the kids discipline at a young age and spirituality. Without God, you don't have anything. Without spirituality, it helps. Spirituality does help in your life. And all of this, the whole foundation that Janet Jackson represents is such a great foundation. I'm going to be part of her foundation in the future. They've asked me to consider being on their board. So I might drag Alice with me, I don't know. We'll see.
Yes.
But I'm going to be part of this because I believe in kids. I believe that kids are our future, and helping and mentoring them is what we need to do. It's a big part of our obligation as parents and as people out there to help kids, help them go in the right direction. And Jana's doing so much for kids now. I saw it firsthand, and the Dodgers coming down and mentoring with them, and all the other plans that she has for other sports groups to come out and be part of this. There's a lot of plans going into the works here, and
it's all for the kids, and it's all free. That's the beauty of it. These programs cost the children nothing. But we have to get out there and fundraise so that we can even purchase t-shirts, because they all get t-shirts, they all get snacks, and they all get toys if it's toys in space. And in the summer, we're also going to have the robotics, the mentoring of the robotics, the drones, and coding. So even to get the equipment for that, for them to be able to do it, we need.
Because coding is a really tough thing to learn, and when you learn that, there's so many job opportunities that are coming out now and in the future, because it's all computer, all coding on drones, how to all that computer stuff, which I know a little bit about computers, but these kids sometimes amaze you with what they know, and it's like, it's their future.
And when you say futures, that's the second company. It's called KIDS Futures. Because in that Kids
what's
Futures,
the difference in the Kids Futures versus the foundation?
The Kids Futures is we're going to take young men and women, and we're going to stay with them a long time, and we're going to train them to be engineers or jobs of the future. So we get all these kids. My dream is to have 1,000 kids in the summer. Well, what do you do with them after the summer is gone? So the Kids Futures is a program that will go all year. And we will work with these students, these children. Naturally, I'm saying students because I'm a teacher, right? But we're going to work with the children all year. And so the KIDS Futures is a program in which we actually take students from schools, and we say we're going to start implementing the math that you need to be an engineer. We're not going to substitute what they're doing in school. So we're not going into schools to do anything. We're saying we will have some things after school. And what we're going to do is implement some programs so that we will be able to get their math and science and technology skills up to a point that when they go into college, they'll be able to have just an extra supplement. We're just going to make sure that what the teachers are doing, we're supporting the teachers by giving them, our kids, just that extra push within the curriculum. So in order, sometimes you don't think about this, but when you look at the men that are retiring, they are our age. And so there was this great big push to become a part of NASA and to become a part of Raytheon and to become a part of Boeing and all of these companies. Well, these men are now retiring. And if we are going to get our kids ready to take their jobs, we have to be able to make sure that United States citizens, our kids, have the same opportunity than those that are coming from other countries into our country to actually work. So that's the basis for the futures. What we want to do is say to anyone coming in, that's great, coming in for a job. But first we want to make sure that our kids are right there with what they need to know in order for them to take the jobs of the retiring engineers. And then I think of my father. He was a homicide detective for 33 years. How sad would it be for him to have to train someone who has lived in another country to come into our United States and take his job? So I have brothers, I have sisters that could actually do this. So you have to have that. So we have to be able to build our students, our kids, so that when it comes to them going to college, this is before college, that they are not only ready, but they're ready with support. So we're talking about supporting them not just academically, but giving them mentors that will support them also.
So are these high school kids? What's the age restriction?
The age will be from 9th grade, which is 13, 14 years old, all the way through university. So we're talking 13 years old all the way through 24, 25 years old. And that's the dream for the kids' futures, because it's like you said, President Trump has already started Space Force. So you have to have kids. I asked the kids, I said, how old do you think the person is that will colonize Mars? You know, that person is a Martian. And they said, 100 years old, 150. Then they say something like 50 years old. That's really old. And you tell them, you said, no, the person that's going to colonize Mars, live on Mars, they are in the schools right now. They are at the age of 8 and 9 and 10 years old.
Right.
So if they're 8, 9, and 10 years old, what are we doing to get those 8, 9, and 10-year-olds ready to be part of the United States Space Agency? So that's why the kids' futures, to me, is even going one step higher. Not just having the kids' foundation, but going one step higher. And with people to support us, we will be able to do this. And so we have a board. We're really getting gung-ho. I haven't given away any secrets, so I don't have to come back and say, it didn't work, because it's working right now. But that's the next phase. So the programs that we have here is getting our kids in the summer. But kids' future is, now that we have them in the summer, let's continue this, taking them all throughout the year.
I think it's terrific.
What about the older kids after you've taught them, or not taught them, after they've gone through some of these programs? Will they be offered like summer jobs, like some of these companies that you're involved
internships?
in?
Yes.
Are they gonna maybe help them do summer internships and jobs?
I don't think you can hear me with the ear headphones.
Oh.
I said internships. That's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, internships.
Yes, we've already planned that. We have a plan for these kids to not only receive support and mentors, but for them to also start working in the workforce. Good. You know, the president has talked about this, and he talked about we call it revitalization. So in our program, one of the programs is revitalization of the workforce, because these are the future workers. And as a teacher and getting to that point of retiring, getting up to that retirement age, I want to make sure that what comes behind me, the teachers that are there behind me, that they have things that I didn't have. We've got to get our kids to a higher level. And I'm not saying they're not on a higher level now. It's just that all the kids that I work with are in the inner city kind of kids. They're the ones that have their parents have low socioeconomic. They're all in low socioeconomic areas. And so I want to take them and give them the same opportunities NASA gave to me. I mean, I lived in the inner city of Chicago. I know what it's like to be told, your daughter's going to get pregnant before she graduates. I mean, that's not the statistics I want to hear. I want to hear your daughter is going to become an aerospace education specialist by the time she is 25 years old. That's what I want to hear. And so in order for us to give that to the kids, we have to say it to them. Then we have to be able to produce it. So yes, I'm just so ready to take our kids to that next level and give to them something a little bit more, not to take away from teachers, but to support our teachers. Our teachers are doing a great job.
Oh yeah.
Just give them a little bit more.
Still got to get the schooling.
Yes.
But what you're teaching them is giving them the interest, giving them the knowledge, teaching them integrity, teaching them discipline, teaching them spirituality. All of that has to do with school too. But you're going beyond that with the robotics and the drones and the software. Because they'll learn some of it at school, some of the basics. But the thing is, there's companies now that can't find employees to fill positions. Tesla can't find people to fill certain positions because they haven't been trained. We have to train our students. We have to train our kids. Let our kids be our future and make the dream come true. The dream that America is going to be great again. And by what you're doing, this is fantastic. The other foundation that we're looking at is Damien Gosar Foundation, but that's on a different level because they're just bringing kids and teaching them computers and stuff. With the Janet Jackson Foundation, Janet Jackson for Kids Foundation, this is going that higher level, and it's spreading out to a few other levels because she's doing the robotics and drone software, the athletes mentoring, the space camp. I mean, and other ones that she has that she can't talk about because they're going through planning stages right now. But what we need, or what she needs in her foundation, is donations. Yes. Donations. If you can help anyway, monetarily, text her or
website.
Website.
It's on the
Go to the
website.
website.
Do you have a Facebook site also?
I'm starting up my Facebook.
Okay.
I friended you on my Facebook. I just
Yeah.
opened it because I don't know how to use the Facebook.
I almost
right?
thought it was. Gee, really? You just on there because there's so many, hackers all the time.
You go to Janet for Kids Foundation at gmail.com. That's a start.
Yes.
And then I think you have a web page too.
Right.
www.janetjacksonforkids.org.
Yes.
That's www.janetjacksonforkids.org.
You know what else?
And that is great. I have to commend you. I mean, what you're doing is great. And I know Jana personally, and she's very passionate about this. She's very passionate about these organizations, these foundations that she's starting up. This main foundation, which is Janet Jackson for Kids Foundation, but it's branching out to the Space Camp and the other groups of the
futures.
And it's
the kids' futures.
It's a kids' future.
Janet's very committed, as you can see, and I want to tell people out there, talk to your kids, your nieces, your nephews. If you live in the Phoenix area, call your schools, right? Call the school and ask the teachers, do they know about this? Maybe they don't even know about it because we're very, we've got a city of Phoenix is over a million people live here.
Yeah.
So the more that people know about this, you never know who's out there among your schools and the kids. It's just there's that one kid never thought about it. He goes to their space camp and is our next future astronaut or scientist.
And they
or
come
whatever.
to me while I'm in school saying, Miss Jackson, do you have the application yet? They're really excited, the kids that participated in the summer. George was on the stage teaching just how to present yourselves on the stage. It was so beautiful. And we had one student, we were getting ready to say the pledge, and I was fumbling with the flag. And he just came, he was on the stage with George. He left that little group and he came and he said, Miss Jackson, I'm in junior ROTC. I know how to do this. And both of us just sort of looked at him and said, this is great. He actually got the flag, he put it, it was incredible. As soon as I got back to school, I went straight to the colonel to say, hey, this is what this kid did without being asked. I mean, he saw, and George had just finished speaking to him, it was a group of them, on things that you do. The integrity of what you do. He had just finished, and then as soon as he finished that speech, this kid came up and said,
"Way to rock, George!"
Yeah,
we
talked to them.
Beautiful.
We got into their souls, and we just told them, "Look, don't be afraid. The microphone isn't something to be. It's just a prop. You just talk to it. You're not talking to it, but then you forget it's even there because it just makes your voice go louder, and it gets you connected." But it's what's inside your head. And if you feel comfortable, it's what you feel inside. And that's all I told the kids. And they are smart kids, and that was proof by when that one.
You know what I love about
gentleman
this?
came up.
Because so many times our poor kids, this is a rough world now, and we always see the negative stuff. We watch the kids. This is Halloween, right? And we had about 80 kids. Well, whenever a kid would say thank you when I gave them candy, I gave them extra. But I'm unhappy to say, unfortunately, that was a small percentage. And what happened that you and I, we were taught, somebody gave us something, we always said thank you. So we see too much negative, but there's a lot of positive. And once I said, oh, did you say thank you? Will you get extra? Well, other kids pay attention. It becomes contagious, and they just don't know. They're not around it. It's a different culture now. So to have something like this and to be exposed about, oh, maybe somebody went to space camp this year. Maybe I'll go next year. I mean, it's just
you
it
see
spreads.
that a lot on the
it's
East Coast. When you go to the East Coast, I've been to Georgia and New Jersey. A lot of people say thank you, yes ma'am, yes sir, and I mean you're caught. I'm from California. And
you're not used to that anymore, huh?
You get caught aback. You go like, damn, these people are really polite. But that's the way they were raised was yes ma'am, yes sir, and these people of all races, they all treat you the same way in Georgia and in Mobile, Alabama. All those areas where I've been, New Orleans, everybody's like, thank you ma'am, thank you sir, really polite, and it's amazing. You see that more on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, it's starting to get there. We're starting to teach our kids.
Well, it used to be that way. There's, I started noticing it, just giving out candy after, I do this now every year because I want to just remind the kids. And now some of the repeat kids, they know, and they'll say, and they don't, maybe they do it for candy, but it's legit. One little girl did, and I gave her like 2 extra candies, and she just looked at me because it was natural for her. Yeah. But this is such an important thing that you're doing here, and we love having you here. We want you to come back whenever you want and whatever you need. I know George is very connected to what you do, and she does this and also teaches. She also has a regular teaching job.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
There's a lot of great things coming with the Jana Jackson for Kids Foundation, JanaJacksonForKids.org. Please stay in tune, find out, go to the websites, get involved. You can get involved by donating, of course, and by being involved as a mentor. If you think you could be a mentor, maybe you're an astronaut yourself, or maybe you're a CEO in a business and you want to mentor kids. This is the perfect place to do it. I was involved in that in high school, and it was a jobs organization I was involved in, where we went to high schools and we talked to kids about opportunities they had, that if they couldn't go to college, there was other opportunities they had in the workforce out in the, but there were jobs out there that they couldn't get, and it actually was a good program out there. We talked to high school kids, and we were, I came from the factory I was working in, and I was a union president at the time, and I had elevated myself to what they call a Class A repairman, and so I was talking to kids about, I'm in the factory, I'm making good money, I'm in the union, I'm making good money. If you don't make it to college, you can always apply for jobs like that you work from the bottom up, of course, but it was, we were mentoring the kids. Of course, we had teachers there, we had police officers, we had other people that had, secretaries for CEOs and CEOs that were from different bigger companies, Xerox and stuff, that were talking to the kids also. I was just there representing where I was working, which was it was a factory actually.
And now you know that story about George. Well, listen, we're going to wrap it up since we're getting towards the end of the show, because we want to do a few more things to finish off the show. But we cannot thank you enough for what you do, Jana. A terrific lady. So glad that you're a friend of ours. And keep rocking.
It's just an honor.
Please, everybody, support this organization, or maybe you know somebody who would like to support it, or a kid that's out there thinking, oh, you know what, they might like to do space camp. They might like to be a part of this. Why not?
You haven't heard the end of this organization. It's growing. It's going to grow by leaps and bounds. we're going to get the kids involved. We're going to bring them out of the street. We're going to get them involved. We're going to make them proud of themselves. When you get proud of your inner self, so much could come out. You could be any from any race or anybody, any kid out there, and you feel proud of yourself. And when that comes out, then it just spreads. The love spreads.
And maybe next time when you come, you can bring a student or two.
Oh, that would be
If they can
wonderful.
come and they can
Yes.
talk, because these
Yes.
kids are sharp. We've
Yes.
talked to some of these kids. They're
Yes,
really impressive.
Yes, they are. Yes,
So-
they are.
So welcome. You can hang
Thank
around
you.
while we
Okay.
finish off the show, whatever you like to do. Thank you so much.
Thank
And you
you.
can stay right there if you'd like,
Okay,
or whatever
thank
you'd like
you.
to do, Jana. Thank
Okay.
you again.
Thank you.
I'm going to give her the whole enchilada.
The whole
Yeah.
for the
She's-
Janet Jackson Foundation.
She's the whole enchilada. George, I don't want the show to end without us playing our Jeff Prather.
Okay.
The Prather Point. Oh, by the way, I think he's going to get his own radio show. So we'll keep you posted on that. He's
And,
actually based out of
And
Tucson.
our friend Ruben Obed came out with a new song. One of these days we have to play it.
Oh, yeah, did I post that on Facebook?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. I posted it, and it's cool. I like
Yeah,
it.
we need to give a shout out. Ruben Obed, what does he go by? Ruben El Mejor Obed or something. He's our Puerto Rico connection. And
Puerto
he's
Rican
the one that wrote the song during the Trump campaign, This Latino's Gonna Vote for Trump. I still have it as a ringtone on here. But what I'm going to do, Jeff Prather is a Fast and Furious whistleblower, and we've been featuring him pretty much every week for a very long time. He's got a special pulse on the dark state and different things because he used to be there. So I'm going to play him. Hopefully we can hear this.
Hi all, Jeff Prather here, ex-government insider, now living outside the box, speaking truth to power on the Chips and Salsa show with this week's Prather Point. Last Saturday, while an evil mass murderer targeted Jews in the Tree of Life synagogue mercilessly, I was on the range in Tucson with Tucson's largest church's armed security team, teaching them how to use their firearms to defend their flock and stop the taking of life. And that irony should not be lost on any of us, that out west, and especially in Arizona, where Fast and Furious started, to curtail gun rights, and gun rights are strongest, these brave churchgoers were preparing to defend their congregation. Where back east, in the Tree of Life synagogue, the faithful, who should have certainly known better by now, after World War II and the terrible Holocaust caused by Hitler and the Nazis, and the whole reason that the state of Israel was formed to prevent Jews being slaughtered anymore. And Holocaust, by the way, means burnt offerings because they burned them in ovens. The Tree of Life did not have armed security guards. And of course, the propaganda press is trying to blame Trump, which is ridiculous because the murderer, the shooter, is virulently anti-Trump and a lefty and a Democrat. But they are trying to blame Trump and also to make Trump out to be anti-Jewish, which is also ridiculous because half of his family is Jewish. At the same time, the pipe bomb suspect, whom I will also not name, is likely a plant because until 2016, he was a Democrat. And 2016 photos on his social media do not show any Trump pro stuff on his van. And that looks like another fake news, conspiracy, covert operation. And of course, no one was hurt by that, by whom I think is probably a phony Republican, a deep state Democratic plant. The bombs didn't go off, they were obvious, and nothing happened. But the real left-wing anti-Trump Democratic murderer did actually do great evil and great harm. Keep that in mind as you vote this week. For more Prather, go to jeffreyprather.com And watch for my show coming up on Sundays on KVOI AM, the Prather Point, on Sunday afternoons. And God bless.
And that was a Prather Point. Yeah, so he's getting a show on Sunday out of Tucson. He's based out of Tucson. We've had him come up here before. Always has, like I say, his pulse on different things. I started listening to him a few years ago when he was a regular on the James T. Harris show. And I used to say, what the heck is he talking about? Because he would make predictions of what was going to happen, and boom, he knew what he was talking about. George, we have a few minutes left, and I wanted to let you know I'm getting some really interesting things in the mail. I guess they just send them to everybody. You know, they're talking. I get them from Planned Parenthood, people that support Planned Parenthood, that's telling me not to vote for Martha McSally. It's been some really very nasty commercials that are out there, and I'm kind of excited for the election to happen so all that stuff can be done.
The end of the commercial.
Oh my goodness, yeah, because, you know,
A lot of people are telling me that, they can't wait till Tuesday. No more commercials. So
yeah.
like that.
So I thought what I would do is bring in the Freedom for Coalition, Faith and Freedom Coalition, put out a nice door hanger. And this is what, I don't know, when you're considering who to vote for, if you're like me, there's certain issues I want to know where do they stand on different things. And this is pretty good. So if you get this flyer, I highly recommend you check it out. Of course, you know where we stand here because we're Republican conservatives, and do that. But if you're thinking about, you know, interestingly enough, I did some phone calls for Martha McSally, and there were a couple of people who, even though they were supporting our governor, Ducey, they were not necessarily going to vote for Martha McSally. And unfortunately, I didn't get to ask them why that was. But I think part of it is Congresswoman Sinema has done a very good job about dressing the part and appearing so angelic. If you don't follow politics, you know, George and I have been following politics for a long time, a really long time. So we know what is actually in the past. And not that people can't change. Yeah, people can change. That's really true. But a good friend of mine was reminding me that if you went back to her years in the legislature, and if you could pull video of the different things that she supported and she said, if you support her now, you may not want to. And you can go and look at a voting record as well. But more powerful than anything else that happened, George, did you watch the Veritas video that came out?
Which one?
Veritas video that kind of went undercover.
That was very interesting.
And, you know, they talked to her staff, and it kind of shows you when you have people that work for you and are willing to call my candidate, Martha McSally. I don't even like this 4-letter word. I think it's the most ugly word to use against a woman. And people started laughing about it. And you talk about ugliness, and they had no idea who they were talking to. It's just so extreme. And I just wish, I share a lot of that stuff on my Facebook because I try to tell people, don't believe me. Just do your own research that's out there. And I know you follow a lot of this, George.
Yeah, I think, like I've been saying for a long time, we've got a lot of crossover, hashtag walk away from the Democratic Party, and it's going to be a big red wave Tuesday, all across the nation.
It's your prediction. Let me just interrupt you for 2 seconds. I don't want to forget to mention this. Last week when we had Terry Mendoza on, and she talked about her walk away moment, there's a gal that later came on and said she had Terry inspired her to walk away and become a Republican. Way to go. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
And I think that some of them might be not real walk-away people. They just want to get notoriety. But a majority of them are disillusioned with what's going on. They don't like the hate. They don't like this talk about socialism and stuff. We're a party that the Conservative Party is a party that's moving forward. It's making America great again, and it's doing good for the country. it's not good to hate. You should never hate. I don't think even when I was a Democrat that I hated people. I was just an activist, and I was a good Democrat. But I know what I wanted. I wanted better for my people.
Yeah, you didn't personally attack someone just for.
Well, when I was a union steward and a union president, I was there to help the people. We were getting underpaid, and we were just trying to get up to the cost of living. Nowadays, it's got really ridiculous with the unions. And when I walked away years ago and became a Republican, I still believe in the people. I want to help Hispanics. I want to help my community. I want to help people. And you can be a Democrat, and you can be a libertarian, but you don't have to hate. You have to look at it, what's good for you, what's good for your family. And right now, the Conservative Party is what's good. And there are some good Democrats that have good hearts, but there are those that, this is driving them nuts.
And George, on the Facebook page this week, posted a really good story. I think I stole it from James T. Harris, but it came out in the Arizona Independent, and it talks about the Republican Party and why it's good for Latinos. Also, I think it was the Rasmussen had a poll, don't quote me, but there was information that now Trump's support for among blacks is at 41%. That's pretty darn high. Now, I have a friend on Facebook who'll probably say I'm lying, but I'll post the.
We might not have all the answers, but I think the party's doing good, and they're getting people jobs. The economy's getting better, and the immigration problem will get taken care of. And we're not going to deport millions of people, but people are going to have to register, get visas, get job visas or whatever it's going to take, and coming across the border illegally is going to stop.
George, your thoughts about that, the caravan, and I think President Trump is doing what he needs to do.
With the camps and stuff, it's the right move, but he's got to be very careful. These people, some of them are pretty mean people, and you got to be just careful the way you handle it. But in the Army there, it's like, if there's an invasion, you have to stop the invasion. Because behind that caravan, there's another one, and there's another one. And they're getting worse and worse, and they're carrying guns now and stuff in the other caravan.
And if we let this go and we're okay with it, then it will never end.
He's doing what he had to do. And hopefully Congress will do their job. Because it's really up to Congress to do their jobs, pass some laws, get this thing straightened out, get the immigrants that are here that aren't registered in all kinds of states, get them legal, make everything right, and they can do it. Congress can do it. It's just, Democrats against Republicans, Republicans against Democrats. It's a political thing. They're using it as a toy. So hopefully everything will get better. People in our community, I know a lot of illegal immigrants, and they have good hearts. All they want to do is work and care for their family. They love the United States. They haven't become citizens because they're illegal, because they're afraid they're going to be deported. So they're hiding, but if you gave them a chance, they would become citizens. A lot of them. There's some that wouldn't. Those, then, they face the thing about having to go back to their country. If they love their other country better, that's where they should be. But a lot of them, I'd say 85% want to be U.S. citizens, and they're very, they don't wave the Mexican flag, the Honduran flag, or whatever other flag that they may become under. They want to be U.S. citizens. And I've been on a lot of naturalization services now, because I'm a county registrar, or I register.
You work for the county recorder?
For the county, and a deputy registrar recorder, they call us. And I've seen the naturalization services, and it brings tears.
Everyone should go to one of those. Have you been to one?
It brings tears.
Everyone should go because we never had to do that because we're born here.
They're so proud
wow,
when they do that.
It's awesome.
It brings tears. Some of them get up and give a presentation of why they're proud to be Americans and becoming Americans, and they give a little short history of themselves, and it brings tears to your eyes. I've seen it over and over, and it still brings tears to my eyes. Every time I attend one, I always carry a little tissue with me because it is so humbling to see how the people feel becoming a U.S. citizen. And if you haven't been at a naturalization service, you should attend one. Put it on your bucket list. And it's free. You're in the lobby up there, and you're watching. And it's something that you should...
And stay afterward and talk to those people too.
It makes you proud to be an American, to see people become Americans for the first time, and they are they wave that flag so proudly in those naturalization service, and they're really proud to be Americans, to be get that certificate that says they're an American citizen, and we have to do more to make more people American citizens.
Well, and that's why it's very important too, because someone who has worked so hard to make that happen and do it the right way. I believe we let 1 million people immigrate legally here to the United States each year. 1 million
And our president wants more, because we need them for the jobs.
We just want the process to be legal
He just
and
wants
do
it
it
to be
correctly.
Because laws are made to be followed, not broken. And that's what we got to teach a lot of people. And that, if you teach the people that, they teach their kids that. If the kids see laws being broken, they grow up. Usually there's a fix-it ticket on lights and stuff. But if you did something wrong and you're pulled over, well, you're going to be arrested, you know? And there's nothing wrong with that because you violated the law. The laws are there to protect all of us. Protect you, me, everybody.
And I have to tell my little story. I know I've told it before, but coming back on a plane about 20 years ago, talking to a gentleman from Mexico, getting ready to get his citizenship and just so excited. And he was saying the biggest reason, and he was about him getting his citizenship. He said, Alice, because it's like a 45-minute plane ride. In Mexico, the law means nothing. In America, the law means something. And I always have to think of those words because he's absolutely right. And if we cheapen it, it's not going to mean anything anymore.
And you see, some people will carry the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution in their pocket. That's what I'm doing. I've started doing that because somebody gave this to me, and I've been reading it. And
you have the whole history of the United States there.
Just read it. It's like
very cool.
Oh well.
It's very cool. All right. Well, I think let's see. What do we want to say? We want to remind people, please vote. We're not going to have a show next week. We might have the best of. It's Veterans Day weekend next weekend. So maybe when we come back, we'll kind of have veterans. We're talking to Charlie Ellis with Operation Enduring Gratitude.
Yeah,
maybe
wow.
we'll have him.
That's
Also,
some good guests.
Ronnie Jimenez might come also. I don't have anybody
Maybe
booked.
Sid will come on our show again.
Sid de la Fuente, he was going to try to host with you next week, but now you can't do the show, so he's not going to.
Also, we can get, who was that last week?
Terry?
Terry Mendoza. Yeah, she's dynamite.
Yeah, Terry is like, we told her, come back whenever.
We got to get her back on the
And she said,
program.
be careful, I will. She-
Jim Horn.
oh, you know
Jim
what?
Horn.
She was on with, Laura Ingram was in town,
Oh, okay.
and she recorded her show. And she got to be in the audience along with Clyde Bowen was in there, Reverend Clyde Bowen. You know who else I saw on there was Sergio Arellano was there too. Now I only saw one part of it because it was a YouTube that she shared. I didn't get to watch the whole show. But as we get them, I'll post them. But evidently it went really good. It was very interesting.
Tell your friends about the Chips and Salsa show. Tell them that this year and next year especially, it's going to rock. We're going to ranch.
This is our 4-year anniversary, by the way.
And we're going to go into our 5th year, and there's a lot of surprises coming up. We're on our new channel now, which you're viewing now, and we're going to go on the road with our cameras and stuff, and we could broadcast from any location and bring you a good show. The Chips and Salsa show will evolve, and you're going to see that in the future.
Yeah, we're here. We try to be here every Saturday at 4 p.m. I'm Alice Lara.
And I'm Don Jorge Lalacra.
Thank you, Janet Jackson, for
Janet
being
Jackson,
our guest
you're going to
today.
hear a lot about Janet Jackson. We're going to bring her back. The whole show is going to be about Janet Jackson the next time, because we're going to bring some kids in. We might even bring some people that are associated with the Janet Jackson Foundation so
good.
they could speak. And it's going to be a great show. It's going to be
Because
fun.
even though we do the majority, we do politics, but we do a lot of stuff because this is our community.
Yes.
And we need a strong community.
And we're going to bring the Damien Gosar people back with their foundation because they're doing
Oh,
really good.
this weekend's their big jazz gala. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can still get tickets, but
Yeah,
support
so-
them. They're a great
Well,
organization
we're
too.
going to promote that one too, but Jenna
They just do things a little different.
She's, as you can see, her foundation is growing by leaps and bounds. And we're going to support whatever way we can her foundation.
All right, let's see.
And then the 40 Days for Life will bring those people back.
It's the end. I think they're winding down. My 40 Days for Life. So you can still support them though throughout the year, and we'll probably have Life Choices in here benefit.
Yeah. What's the one with pets, blankets for pets?
Oh, I was thinking about her because we had her on last year. Yeah, Paws. Oh, I can't think of it. It's something with Paws, but she collects blankets for the dog
pets,
shelters.
And she
pet
sends them
shelters.
to the shelters. She was on our program, and we're going to have her back. It's not going to be all about politics, people. It's going to be about community. We're going to give back to the community by showcasing these people to the community and showing how involved they are and how you can be involved in some of these things that they're involved in.
So until we're back in a couple of weeks here, thank you very much, Chipsters. We hope you get your guac on this weekend. And remember, go to Chips, letter N Salsa Show, our Facebook site. Please like us. Thank you to our incredible intern, Armin. He couldn't be here today, but I'm sure he'll be back with us in a couple of weeks. Thank you to Sonia Siegert,
I wanna say hi
our
to
producer, because she's behind the scenes helping. George had a little technical difficulties.
Caesar
so he's always there.
Cisneros, we know you're watching.
Thank
and
you.
He's always around the United States, and he.
You got to come to the show soon.
Yeah, come back to the show and visit us, Caesar.
Susan Tyndall,
What's
you're always
Ron's wife's
supporting.
name?
Rachel
Yeah,
Harders.
she's watching us. She was online watching.
Thanks,
us.
Rachel.
And also Susan Trindell is always watching us and following us, and she's with MAGA, Make America Great Again, hashtag MAGA, nationwide.
Leslie
And-
White, I understand they had a great event last weekend.
Yep, and so Patriots USA, Bikers USA. I mean,
Valerie Roller. We have a
there's
lot
so
of
many
really good
people that
friends.
watch
Thank
us
you.
and follow us, and we thank you all. This year is really coming to an end, but we're going to be back here the later part of November and into December. We're going to have a great December party. Maybe we'll make this into a Christmas party here or something. Who knows?
It's always a party,
Always
right,
a
on the
party.
Chips and Salsa Show. Because everybody loves chips and salsa. So until then, have a wonderful weekend. Guac on, my friends. Bye-bye. Chipsters and cheapsteros and cheapsteras.
This was so much fun. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's always a pleasure
Always
to
a
have you
pleasure. It's
on.
always so much happiness here.